Hey, my friends. So I'm going to be reading you a story today called A Story for Bear. This is one of my favorite picture books to share with kiddos because I absolutely love the illustrations that are within the book to help me understand what's going on in the story. So let's get started. A Story for Bear by Dennis Hasley and Jim Lamarque. So in the very front inside corner, there's an image with a letter. The letter is covered by fall leaves. This letter says, "Dear Eliza, your father and I have been cheered by your letter. We picture you often driving near the woods where we summered. I remember the days of berry picking and golden light shining through the tall trees." And then the rest of the letter is covered up. All right, page 1. One day, a young bear was nosing through the bushes when he saw something laying on the ground. He looked at it with curiosity. He sniffed its tiny marks. Then the bear took it in its teeth and brought it back to the cave. So you can see what he's looking at here. Through the years, the bear looked at the paper with wonder. It seemed as far away and as mysterious as the moon. One summer afternoon, the bear ranged further than usual where he lived. He followed a scent that came to a clearing, and there he saw several strange things all at once. There was a cabin and a brightly colored laundry hanging on a line, and a woman. From behind the thick tree, he watched as the woman sat down and opened this mysterious square thing that she was carrying. His nose tickled from the wonderful smells of the cabin and the bacon and the coffee and the bread. But he gazed only at her, trying to understand what she was doing with that thing, that book. He felt calm as he watched her. When she closed the book, he ran away. Day after day, he returned. He managed to get closer to her and watched from behind near a tree, his thick, bare head just peeking around the corner. He had never seen anything like this. Sometimes, as she gazed at the book, she would laugh out loud. Other times, she would lower it and look away, but without really seeing anything, he thought. Other times, she appeared afraid and held it tightly. And once, when the sun slanted through the tree, he saw her place it gently on her lap and close her eyes. Later, she went into her cabin, and he lumbered slowly through the woods back to his cave. When he heard a blue jay call, he looked up quickly because he thought for a moment the woman was laughing. So you could see his big bear head just peeking around the tree. One afternoon, the woman was not in her yard. Slowly, his head moving from side to side, he walked to her things. With one big paw, he knocked the book off a pile to land face down in the dirt. He pushed it with his nose and scratched it with the brown cover with his claws, trying to turn it open. Finally, one of his claws caught under the cover, and the book flipped over, opened, and the bear moved his nose forward. Then it closed again, and his head snapped back. Once more he tried. This time it stayed open. He looked. He took 2 lumbering steps towards it and put his big head close. There on the page were rows and rows of marks, tiny, tiny marks. He stared at them while his nose filled with the scents on the page of paper, glue, and ink, and her touch. He didn't see the woman walking up behind him. When he finally heard her, his head swung around. For a moment, their eyes locked. The bear pawed once more at the book, then turned and ran away. The next day, he saw the woman sitting in her chair. The book with the brown cover was on her lap. She was looking into the trees, searching for something. When she finally saw him, she smiled. Come here, bear. After a while, she moved out from the tree, and then slowly he took a few steps towards her, with his big head swaying from side to side. Oh, it looks like I have a bear myself. Come here, Bailey. Come here. Come on. Come on up. Oh, she doesn't want to join us for story time. I thought she totally did. Do you want to come up, babe? Or look at the bear I have, peering around the corner, wanting to read a book with us. When he grew near to her, but not so near that he couldn't run, he lay down and looked up at her. Hi, Bailey. When she said carefully, or then she carefully opened the book and softly began to speak. There once was a sailor, she read, who had to travel for many years over the sea before he could return home. The bear gazed up at her as if she said the words and turned the pages. He couldn't understand any of what she was saying, but as he listened to the sound of her voice, happiness washed over him like waves. Some figurative language there, friends. He returned day after day all summer. When she read in a fearful voice about the sailor getting lost, he felt afraid. When she would laugh at how the sailor played tricks, the bear would feel strangely happy. When she read of his love, the bear looked up at the woman with wide eyes and watched her gentle mouth form the words. All the words she read made a story for Bear. Whenever she would read, he felt the waves of the mysterious feelings carrying by her voice. Sometimes her voice was soothing and the bear grew peaceful. And sometimes she sounded excited or scared and his hairs bristled and he gave a low growl. And sometimes her sounds were tender and he looked up at her and watched her fingers gently lifting the page and another page and another page. These feelings often stayed inside of him as he lumbered back to his world at the end of the day. And sometimes, in a babbling of a brook, he would think he heard her again and became quite happy. So the sounds of a babbling brook. It's like a little creek going over those rocks. One afternoon, when he returned to the cabin, there was a chill in the air. She put down her book, looked at Bear, and said, I wish I could read you these books when I'm away for the winter. Then she smiled at him, and the bear, seeing her smile, felt the lightness in his heart. But she began to read out loud again. When next he came, he was carrying something in his mouth. It was the scrap of paper from his cave with the mysterious marks. He laid it by her books. Bear, she said. He knew by now that this was his word for her word for him, and he lifted his head. Bear, did you bring this for me? And then she read it in her gentle voice, as if it were a story he was giving her. Dear Elsa, your father and I have been cheered by your letter. We picture you often living near the woods where we summered. I remember days of getting berry picking and golden light shining through all the tall trees. When the bear next returned, the leaves were changing color. When he reached the cabin, he saw what had changed there as well. She was not in her usual place waiting for him. The bear walked into her yard, taking a few steps and moving his big head from side to side. He walked this way up to where her chair had been. There, under the tree where she usually sat, were her books. There were many of them, more than he had ever seen, lying on a cloth. Fallen leaves and pine cones were on their covers. She had left it for him along with a piece of paper, as if she'd wished he could read it. For my bear. He looked at what she'd left him, with his big head close. He understood that she was gone, as silence surrounded him. So what do you guys think is going on? Why has the woman disappeared? Then, tenderly, so softly, tenderly as he could, he put his teeth around a book with the brown cover and carried it away. All that afternoon, he managed with the long journey from his winter cave to her yard and back again, through the forest, carrying her books with their covers of green and red and black, with their words of sailors and goddesses in far-off lands, while the stream whispered and the blue jays called. That night, as the moon rose, like a white page with the mysterious marks, he lay among the hard covers of her books. And while he slept, he heard her voice, gentle and near. She was telling him a tale of adventure, magic, and love. And all that winter, before she came back in the spring, whenever he put his nose to the pages or touched the covers with his claws, she was there. Reading to him. The end. So this, again, is one of my favorite stories, A Story for Bear. I just think it's such a sweet tale. This does not mean that when you're in the woods, you should be reading to bears, because you should not. Maybe choose one of your fellow puppies at home, like Miss Bailey over here, or maybe a kitty or a fish or a brother or a sister. But this is us signing out. I can hear Mad Dog. He is out there. I was hoping he would come in and say hi to you guys as well, but I think he just went outside. So love y'all, and I hope you all are having a great day. Bye-bye.